Welcome. Hello, everybody. How are you? I hope everybody's doing fine on this new system we have here. Hope you're all well. Hope your family is well, and you're all taking care of yourself and washing your hands. And so we have to continue. The semester goes on, and this is the first of some mini videos that I'm going to be making, and sending you a link for YouTube. The link will be right on that first page of Blackboard. When you open it up and it says assignments and syllabus, just go there. You'll see a link for all of these things. They'll be numbered and they'll be titled. So this one, for instance, I'm going to be talking about some poetry today. When we do these, when you decide to play these videos, you should make sure you've got a notebook or something to write down on, and your book. Your textbook, of course. I have mine right here. This is my textbook right there. And I'm going to try and do at least 3 poems today, 3 quick poems, all in the same sort of realm. And to sort of continue with the syllabus. There's no reason we can't talk about what's on the syllabus. It's all right there already. The difference is that we're not here in person. So, and we'll just keep checking your Blackboard account, that page for different videos that come up. Don't forget, there will be, as I mentioned in the email, there will be a forum or discussion board, whatever it is that it says there, and you should check that. There'll be questions that I'll place on there, and you should be able to, you have to sort of add your responses to it. Doesn't matter what they are, questions, responses to things on these poems or the short stories. And we'll hopefully get some ideas out there. And this, instead of being in the classroom when people can speak and say what they want, this way I get a sense of people individually responding, in writing, which is good for us as well. So all the things that we're doing now, obviously, we're headed toward the 3rd essay. I'm still processing the 2nd essay. And so anything you like, you can turn this into an essay and get to work on it. If you have any questions, my email is still available. You can get me there. And otherwise, these videos are our way of corresponding. It's our Skyping. It's our FaceTime. So make yourself comfortable. Have a cup of coffee or tea or something like that, and just have lunch, whatever you have, and sit back and relax. Don't make this a chore. This should be a pleasant time. Hopefully, we can make this a couple of minutes of leisure time, even though you're doing sort of schoolwork. It's not the same as coming into the classroom and sitting in there listening to all kinds of us people talking. So anyway, I'd like to talk about 3 poems: Red, Red Rose, How Do I Love Thee, and One Perfect Rose. If you're interested in this as a topic, again, everything we talk about can be turned into an essay. So these 3 all have to do with romance. We all know romance. And if we don't, we will. Or love, whatever you want to call it, love, romance. I'm not even going to attempt to define love. A couple of things to note. One is that, before we start reading these, 2 of these are really old. One of them is a more modern one, 20th century. Keep in mind that you already know about this. That is, you're all adults. You know what love is. Now, of course, we're talking about romantic love, not love of mom and dad and sister and brother and things like that. So just keep that in mind. And the other thing because we've talked about this before, is that time has passed. So, How Do I Love Thee? All of these, let me see. How Do I Love Thee or A Red Rose was written in the 18th century. How Do I Love Thee was written also in the 19th century. So, these are not new. Now, that doesn't mean that love is necessarily different, but it might. So, that's something you could think about as we're listening to this. Just like we read that poem called Manners with the girl on the horse-drawn carriage, and she's talking about picking people up and saying hello, and we realize that things have changed in society. Well, it could be something where you can say, well, these poems are nice, but boy, did they have a different point of view. And that could be the topic or something to explore in a paper. So keep in mind that love, whatever that is, in your opinion, of course, a lot of you come from different cultures too, where love is viewed differently, and so you might want to even consider that. But that's one thing. The other thing is this thing called romance. And romance traditionally has three parts to it, which is adventure, mystery, and the unknown. And there's a long history of romance in literature, and it wasn't always about love. So when heroes in stories and myth and things like that would go off to try to find the Holy Grail or to just look for something and try to go on the open road, that was romantic. They would go on adventures. And even Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz was on a romantic quest to try to find the Wizard of Oz and get back home. So when we do meet someone that we love or like, we think we're going to like, they are unknown, and they are a mystery, and they are hopefully an adventure. And so that definition fits pretty nicely with all of that. The things you'll notice about the first two poems is that they are sort of really corny or cheesy, or whatever terminology you want to use, in our vernacular, the way we think in 2020. There's something called hyperbole, 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 which means wild exaggeration. And it might be worth just looking at that, just because, that's what he's doing here. We're not going to have time for all three. I'm trying to make these under 15 minutes, but we'll see what happens. Let's start with Red, Red Rose. It's on page 389. I'll just read it. There's not a lot to say about it. It's pretty straightforward. What's one thing to notice is how it's like saying extraordinarily exaggerated things for the I love you so much. I'll love you till the cows come home. I love you more than all the stars in the sky. That kind of thing. My love's like a red, red rose. Now, we talked about roses last time. The sick rose we talked about in class. So keep in mind the symbol of a rose also, which is this feminine, beautiful symbol of beauty, symbol of temporary life, extraordinarily feminine, as I said. My love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June, rather, sorry. Now my love's like the melody that's sweetly played in tune. As far art thou, my bonny lass, so deep in love am I, and I will love thee till, my dear, till all the seas gang dry, all the seas dry up. Till all the seas gang dry, my dear, and the rocks melt with the sun. Oh, I will love thee still, my dear, while the sands of life shall run. And fare thee well, my love, and fare thee well a while, and I will come again, my love, though you were 1,000 mile. Again, he's leaving. In those days, they went off to sea, they went off to war, they went off to work, and they came back months later. And so he'll love her forever no matter what, till all the seas will dry up, which is, again, impossible, but more or less. And but it indicates how much he loves her. So this is one of those overly romantic Hallmark card type cheesy love stories. But it doesn't mean he's not in love. It just means that, oh my goodness, give me a break, But it was successful, and it was all very rhythm and rhymed. And the same thing goes for the one on page 648. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. And which I'm sure you've heard that phrase. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight. For the ends of being and ideal grace, I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in all my griefs and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with the love I seem to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smile, tears of all my life, and if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death. And of course, she brings the idea of religion into this. She makes it, I'll love thee even after I die. We will be in love in heaven. So love transcends life here on earth. They're both extreme. They're both, in some ways, as I said, cheesy to the way we think. Now, it was effective then, and one of the things to think about, if this interests you, if this topic interests you, is the notion of how this might have changed. In your opinion, are we still so quote unquote romantic today? Are we less romantic? Have we lost romance? Is romance dead? And your opinion is your opinion. If you think we've lost it, well, show us how. Show us how it's no longer as compelling as it was in the 17th and 18th or 19th century. That by the time we hit the 21st century, there is no sense of romance. Or there is still a sense of romance, but it's sort of changed in some sort of fundamental way, and that's what you want to get to by using these poems as examples of what was, and then look at some examples of what you think is romantic today. You could, of course, use song lyrics as well as other poems than from the textbook that you know of. And so those are two, really good examples of the, the old-fashioned kind of poetry that was enormously popular for centuries, from Shakespeare's sonnets and everything right up to the 19th century. Things changed a lot by the end of the 19th century, where we stopped rhyming things. There's a lot of stopping of the rhythm and all that stuff, and we stopped being so what was called cliche. And so we got a little bit less that way. And by the time we get to the 20th century, if we look on page 390, we'll just do one quick one. This one is in the 20th century. Dorothy Parker was a very bright critic, writer, and the poem is obvious. Let me just read it to you. A single flower he sent me since we met, all tenderly his messenger he chose, deep-hearted, pure, with scented dew still wet, one perfect rose. Of course, now she wants us to know, that she's using this symbol of a rose the way the other people did, the way William Blake did, the way Robert Burns did, the way, what's her name, Elizabeth Barrett Browning did. Still a rose, still all the same symbols. I knew the language of the floweret, my fragile leaves, it said, his heart enclose. Love long has taken for this amulet one perfect rose. So she knew, she gets it. He gives her a rose. She knows exactly what it's supposed to mean, and she's not upset with it. And here's the rub. Here's what she does at the end. But it's the 20th century. Why is it, this is her now, no one ever sent me yet one perfect limousine, do you suppose? No. It's always just my luck to get one perfect rose. Now, is she, and again, you can think what you like, is she some spoiled, stuck-up, materialistic person who just cares about, material things, the limousine, whatever, and the whole romantic aspect of the rose is lost? Or is she correct? And would you agree that love is nice, but you just can't live on love? You got to have stuff, and that there should be a balance between the two. Now this goes back to our discussion the other week when I mentioned the two words abstract and concrete. Love is abstract, and I think we might have even talked about this in class. That the guy who tells you he loves you over and over and over again, eventually somebody might say, well, don't just tell me you love me, show me you love me? And what do you want when they say, show me you love me? Is my timer. And so that's the concrete part. So she's asking or wondering, where's the concrete part of this love business? I just can't live on you giving me a rose and telling me you love me. There's got to be more to it than just that. And some of you are going to agree with that. Some of you might say, no, people can, the other side of this is to keep getting things. Here's more and more gifts and gifts and gifts and gifts and money and trinkets. But if someone doesn't tell you that they love you, what good is it all? And so this, of course, the balance is you have both, right? So you've got two poems that are incredibly romantic. It's as if those two people who are writing it, one was a male, one was a female, and it didn't matter what they had in terms of material things, they were just in love. How many ways can I tell you I love you? I love you till the sun falls from the sky. Or, I get it with the rose, but, how about we go out to dinner? How about you take me to the movies? Or something like that. Where is the limousine? I need to have both of these things. How do we stand here in 2020? What do you think? What do you think happened to romance? Is love the same? Has it changed? Has it changed for the better? Has it changed for the worse? Is it gone? These are questions that these poems make us think of. They don't actually always bring them up, but certainly this third one does. But the other two, they're a little different. Anyway, so think about those things. I'll put questions like that on the board, the forum or discussion board, and I'd like to hear from you about what you think of these poems, and we'll get a little discussion going. The next video will be on Love in LA by Gilb. I think his name is Gilb. Yeah, Dagoberto Gilb. I'm not going to read that whole thing on the video. We'll just talk about it. Look at the characters. It's an interesting story. What do you think of them? And mostly, what do you think of the title, Love in LA? Anyway, I guess we're done here. I'll see you in the next. I won't see you. This is what we say on TV. We'll see you next time on the video. And take care of yourself. Look for this. Look for the link on Blackboard. And I hope this is suitable. Take care of yourselves. Bye.